Hey guys, welcome back for another episode of Dash's Call, my podcast series, sponsored by Procrastination. Nah, not procrastination, but somewhat. And I'm continuing the streak of serious topics where I get somewhat provocative and really political. But before we get into that, be sure to like the video, subscribe to our channel for more content, click the bell if that means anything. I don't care, but the channel does, so you do you. Okay, so you've obviously heard about the stuff that's been in the media lately, and this is where social media and political correctness don't mix. It's where we have really let ourselves become toxic. We're turning into animals. It's almost as if the cavemen are more civil than we are. We've turned into barbarians. And they're like, oh, we're not freaking cave people. We're not like that. We're more civil. I'm like, look at social media today. The most recent example is Covington Catholic, which all the kid did was just smirk as a Native American man beat a drum and got up in that kid's personal space. And they're like, oh no, his friends were disrespecting him and whatnot. I'm like, well, actually, after the Black Hebrew Israelites were attacking those kids, the Native Americans went right up to them. And the kid, he felt so freaking awkward. Like, he didn't know what to do. Like, he literally said this. And they were paying it up to be that they attacked Native Americans when that was actually proven to be false, and even the mainstream media had to admit that it was a false narrative. And meanwhile, Nathan Phillips is crying wolf here, which his facts don't line up, claiming that he served in Vietnam, yet whenever he did serve, it was after Vietnam. And everyone just easily bored onto it because they'll find anything to get offended about. Honestly, I don't give two craps if you're offended or not because I just really don't care. Because you're going to get offended in life, you deal with it. So you might as well not care about getting offended. Heck, I offend myself every day, basically. 'Cause I don't offend myself every day, but stuff I used to find offensive, I joke about. Like, I'm always joking about autism. It's just a part of me now. And really, once you start to joke about stuff about yourself, no one else will joke about it. Unless it's like me and my brothers who will joke about anything. Um, Now, continuing on, when it comes to this situation, it just really didn't get any better from there. The moment that the incident happened, Nicholas Sandman, the kid who is the infamous smirking kid, he was brought into an interview in either NBC or MSNBC. I didn't see the interview, but everyone on Twitter was freaking making fun of how he was dictating his speech, saying he was robotic and calling him a Westworld robot. And I'm like, I get that you don't like this kid because you're easily brainwashed by media, but it doesn't give you any right to go making fun of this kid because how can you be against bullying and against people, I don't know, oppressing others and all that other BS of today? And you go doing that crap to this kid. I mean, yeah, he's a kid, and well, kids are just going to be pricks. They're going to be immature. That's because their kid's still going through development. They're going to have some immature parts. Like, gah. Um, Even Ron Perlman was calling him a robot and whatnot. And really, it's where social media and PC culture really, really get out of hand. Like, you've seen the tweets from so many different people, and it was just bad. And there are people calling for violence against this kid, like saying that someone should punch him in the face. One woman was talking about her, like, if someone punched a kid in the face, that she would blow that person. I'm like, whoa, whoa, no. And They're going to great lengths to do this stuff. Even freaking um, Kathy Griffin put out a tweet, and of course she's never been funny. She's the Generation X. She's the baby boomer version of Amy Schumer. Not funny at all. And a little too feminist, to be honest. It's like modern third wave feminism is basically cancer. Because it's no longer about equal rights for anyone. It's just more about um, these third wave feminists just wanting more benefits and wanting to one up men. That's not true feminism. It's not even equality. That's just rampant misandry. Anyways, Kathy Griffin, she put out a tweet. My lord, my chats are blowing up. As Kathy Griffin, she put out the infamous tweet. Now it's all been downhill ever since she did that Trump head photo, and she blames it all on Trump. I'm like, well, it's your idiotic mistake. You don't go pulling those types of stunts, Kathy. Anyways, so she tweets asking people to dox the kids, and doxing is a crime. Like, everyone in the gamer community knows it's a crime to dox people. And there were other people that really took it to a whole nother level. Like, they were even asking for people to shoot up school. I'm like, whoa, what the F? Like, why? And these people, they're the same people against school shootings. Now, granted, everybody should be against school shootings. If you're not, then there's something wrong there. And they are tragedies, and it's horrible. But why would you wish that on someone just because they're not like you? That's just wrong. It's like, it's weird that they're against this stuff. They're like, think about the kids while shoving a red hot poker through an unborn baby's skull. They're against these school shootings, but they're also condoning abortion. They're against school shootings unless it's a place where there's a bunch of conservatives. That's how it is. They want to take down any opposition they have because they can't handle what life is. They only think about diversity in the sense of skin color, and that's bad. And whenever they do that, they don't even factor in white people. They want to leave white people completely out. And I'm not saying any white supremacist stuff. That's not what this is. I'm just saying, if you want diversity, you have to represent all races. But aside from racial diversity, they don't even want to think one bit about intellectual diversity. They only think diversity in terms of stereotypes. They want to paint all Mexicans as these deprived people who are all immigrants. And that's a racist view. Like, I've seen that. And there are just some Latinos that really just don't care. And they're not deprived or anything. And they try to point that, and they try to do that with the legal immigrants that are Latinos. Like, Latinos, they're living good lives. They got a nice job and whatnot. They're living the best. But Democrats are trying to paint them up as if they're deprived by Trump and BS. Kanye, like, everyone thinks that black people are always going to vote for Democrats and whatnot. Meanwhile, Kanye, Trump support, they immediately put him at the stake there, as if it was witchcraft in Salem. Like, what the hell? And he just started pointing all kinds of racial terms. Like, nowadays, Uncle Tom is a very racist term. People have used it on Kanye and Ben Carson. Ben Carson is a person that I've been rooting for to run for president and stick to it. And I was a little bit disappointed that he didn't get at the head of the primaries because Ben Carson was my guy. I didn't want Trump. I wanted Ben Carson, no lie. Ah, crap, I hate rhyming. Anyways, and they don't even care about intellectual diversity because the moment that the group that they claim to support has a way different view, they're quick to throw them under the bus. Like Bruce Jenner, like whenever he came out as allegedly transgender, people just started applauding him and whatnot. I'm like, I don't care. But then he just started showing a little bit of support for Trump and showing conservative views, and then they threw him under the bus. Like, oh, Dash, that's a her. I'm like, still got a penis and testicles, so it's a dude. Kind of like that State Farm commercial. Well, she's a guy, so. Anyways, yeah, but they're quick to throw him under the bus. Like, even with people who are gay conservatives, like, I'm pretty sure if no one knew that Milo Yiannopoulos was a conservative, which I can't even say his friggin' name right. If no one knew that Milo Yiannopoulos was a conservative and only knew that he was gay, they would probably think that he'd be a Democrat and they would support him. But the moment he said that he was a conservative Trump supporter, they would suddenly throw him under the bus. And honestly, the Covington Catholic situation got way out of hand. Even people still believe the lies despite evidence popping up. Because in America now, facts no longer matter. It's all about feelings. Well, guess what? Facts don't care about your feelings. If you think your feelings have more, what's the term I'm looking for? If you feel that your feelings take more precedence over facts, you're in a world of hurt. Because honestly, I'm one of those people of realism. I've always been upfront with people. Like, I don't care about my own feelings. Like, I'll tell them, listen, don't try to lie with me just to appease my feelings. You tell me the truth straight up, even if you feel it's going to hurt my feelings. Because truth is probably the best thing. Truth and honesty is a value that I hold highly. And pretty much whenever I look at stories online and whatnot, I try to gather all the facts first before I pick a side. And it was just blatantly obvious to choose Nicholas Sandmann's side from Covington Catholic. Now, people are still trying to paint him in a bad light because Covington Catholic has a bad history. Talking about, I think something to do with a black student, something like that, which one of those stories actually turned out to be false. It was fabricated. But anyways, yeah, those were past students and maybe current students, but this was not Nicholas Sandmann. And Nicholas Sandmann does not deserve the slander because that kid literally did nothing but smirk. They're like, oh, but smirking's a new symbol of white nationalism and white supremacy. I'm like, oh, I feel pity. Like, they're always coming up with ways to try and pin a bad light on people. They will throw terms like racist, Nazi, and white supremacy everywhere. They literally will. Like, it has no meaning anymore. Like, you call someone a Nazi, it just has no effect. Because, like, how are you going to prove they're a Nazi? Are they a socialist? Are they from the German Socialist Workers' Party? Do they hate Jews? If it's no to any of these, they are not a Nazi. And with white supremacy, now, do they support racial harmony? Do they support capitalism? Do they support rational reasoning for whenever it comes to racial stuff? Do they support Trump? They're not a white supremacist then. I mean, just because you're a Trump supporter doesn't mean you're a white supremacist. A real white supremacist thinks that white people are better than others, and that's not true. When it comes to races, no one's really better than the other. All race is the measure amount of melanin in the skin, which it's shown that in people who are black, the melanin count is very high. And in white people, it's rather low. It's especially low in the Arctic Circle, like where the Eskimos are, because they don't get enough vitamin D. That's science. So when you try to think that race in terms of that level don't exist, they technically do. But if you think race divides thought patterns or how people act or anything, that's racist. Because you can't just put people in it. It's called stereotyping, and it's wrong. Because people would think, like, here's the thing: Ben Carson could have been easily stereotyped. Whenever he was a kid, he grew up poor with a single mother, and his mother made him read books, and he read books, and he went on to become one of the most accomplished surgeons of all time, even performing the first surgery on conjoined twins at the head to separate them successfully. So think about that. Like, just because you're in one place doesn't mean you're going to become a stereotype. Because you have the ability to make your own future. You don't let what others say dictate you. And all these stereotypes and all this political crack bull crap that's gotten out of hand, it's really made us toxic. And I think social media has really allowed this to happen. Because before that, people, if they got offended, are like, nah, or I'll get over it. Because it's life. You're going to get offended. Deal with it. And if you can't handle it, you're not ready for life. You're not an adult, and you're going to be stuck living in your mother's basement. Yeah. And then social media came along, and then suddenly feelings had precedent because in schools, it's like cyberbullying will not condoned, which I don't condone cyberbullying, but feelings really became taking more and more effect in social media world and how we interact. Like, that hurts my feelings. I'm like, I don't care. I really don't. And it's really allowed us to be toxic. And nowadays, people, a lot of times whenever there's stuff that is something that has to do with political correctness or against their political views, they really become toxic. And it's either because they were so indoctrinated and brainwashed by mainstream media and other places, like parents, they really got out of hand. And other times it's for attention. Like, the Sir incident at GameStop that ended up getting memed. Like, oh, she's facing so much violence and oppression for these people at GameStop. I'm like, that dude literally got ticked off just because he got called Sir once. And he deserved to get called Sir again because that GameStop employee doesn't like being yelled at by a person who got ticked off by something that's so minute. Like, honestly. That transgender dude or whatever had a lot of balls to kick over that stuff in the GameStop. Now, it's called a joke. You laugh. And people are like, you shouldn't joke about certain things. I'm like, well, if nothing was offensive, nothing would be funny. Like Nick Cannon, of all people, he's talking about not being afraid of saying anything, and then suddenly he's putting out tweets saying that you shouldn't use this or that in a joke. I'm like, in my opinion, if you're not serious about something, it's just a formulated joke. I'm like, you could, but whatever happens, it's on you. Like, there's no such thing as hate speech. Like, if you're not inciting violence or you're not trying to silence anyone else, you have freedom of speech. And there's no such thing as hate speech. But whatever happens to you is at the fault of the other person because they were the ones who incited violence. And if you want to know how hate speech doesn't exist, you can watch videos from Ben Shapiro or Steven Crowder, because I've been watching them a lot lately. Anyways, and it's just really got in that band. Because, like I said, attention or brainwashing, which the mainstream media flip-flops and whatnot. I can admit that there was a time where I was a bit rigid in my old views. Like, my old views, I was heavily conservative, and I just certainly believed one thing. Like, the way I viewed Obama was how people viewed Trump. Like, the way I viewed Obama was as this oppressive dictator type. And that's exactly how people view Trump. And people laughed at me for figuring Obama that was that way, and my God, I would laugh at myself too. Yeah, I would laugh at myself too. But they don't realize that they're like how I was so many years ago. And I've changed up my views. I'm a libertarian now. I have vastly different views that differ greatly from my own family. And I can show a great example of social media making us go toxic. I had this debate with this one kid that I went to high school with, and they're talking something about um, transgender BS, and if you support Trump, you come from. I'm like, if you're really basing people off of their political ideologies and not uh, content of character, then you're not a great person. I'll say it outright. If you are going to judge people by political ideas and not content of character, you are a horrible person. Like, because I've got so many friends out here that they have vastly different views. Me and others in the broad culture team, we have vastly different views. But we all agree to disagree. We're great friends, and we respect each other's views. We might not always agree, but we just know that we're different, and we accept that. That's called intellectual diversity. You accept it. Um, like, anyways, I was debating with this kid, and I was saying that my belief that there's no such thing as more than three genders, and that you can't be, and that gender is not interchangeable, because I believe on the biological standards. And we're like, well, technically Klinefelter syndrome counts as transgender. Not really. Transgender is a mutation that occurs along the sex chromosomes when you get an additional X chromosome, and it causes many difficulties in physical and possibly mental health. So it's not something that's regularly occurring. Like, it's not like seahorses where the males get pregnant, or like frogs that can change, like a certain species of frog that can regularly change gender. That's only in certain species of animals that widely occurs for that species. Meanwhile, for us, that does not happen for us. A dude cannot get pregnant, and a woman cannot, and only women can really get pregnant. If a woman can't get pregnant, that's because of certain health types. Now, if a gay couple wanted to surrogate or adopt, that's fine. And people are like, oh, gay people shouldn't adopt. I'm like, shut up. If you have a problem with them adopting, why don't you go adopt a child yourself? Ugh. Can't even speak today. Anyways, I was debating with this kid, and then suddenly it just got so nasty. And I was keeping rationality on my points, and this kid just kept firing shots at me, which I really didn't care if he was firing shots at me, because I just elevated to a sense that I gotta keep my rationality if I want to win against this kid. Even if it seems like all the odds are against me, people are going to realize that I kept my cool and that they're going to start siding. Because one thing you gotta know is that you have to respect the debate. If you respect the other person while also asserting views with rationality, people like that debate and they'll choose a side for themselves. However, if you go attacking another person in a debate and don't even stick to it using red herrings, strawmans, ad hominems, bandwagons, people are going to side with the other person. That's just something I know. Because they don't like seeing a person get attacked while they're holding rationality. Now, I do have one example of that. Like, say a neo-Nazi is arguing with a Democrat. Of course, no one likes neo-Nazi ideas except for neo-Nazis. And while while I don't like their views, technically everyone has a right to free speech in this country. Yeah, it sucks that they have those views, but you can't do anything to silence them, or else you are being the oppressor and you just further us into 1984. And let's say the Democrat, which I'm widely generalizing. I could use any other example. But anyways, the Democrat just keeps attacking the neo-Nazi, and the neo-Nazi is just stating his ideas without getting very, very emotional about it. People would probably end up siding with the neo-Nazi. But whenever it comes to morality and whatnot, they definitely wouldn't. But if it came down to that debate, people would not want to deal with that Democrat. Now, that Democrat would be representing themselves, but a high number of these people who have become toxic with their own ideas and are radical within political correctness are in fact the far liberals, the far left liberals. And this kid that I was arguing with, he was like, Dash, just say it already that you hate transgender people. I'm like, I won't, because that's not true. I'm not going to lie about that. I don't hate anyone. That goes against Christian ideology. Like, just because I don't believe in something doesn't mean I hate something. Because to me, it's just more of hate the sinner, hate the sin, love the sinner. Blech, can't speak today. And that's what they don't understand. Like, you can disagree with something while also having respect for someone. It's very much possible. You can very much disagree with their ideas, but it doesn't mean you hate them. It's called respect. And I just kept arguing with this person. There's just no reasoning with them. So, that's that. And I really blame social media for this. Before social media, people actually had spines. And whenever they got offended, their parents corrected them and stuff. But ever since social media, it was more about attention. And because they were getting attention, they just allowed their feelings to go all over the place. And we've allowed it to a point that it's gotten ridiculous. And social media will silence anyone who has a different view. It keeps happening to my brother. And like, he'll just post memes and whatnot, but there have been a couple times where content on his wall just keeps getting deleted. On Twitter, he's on his third account now, just because he posts political stuff. Me and him, we just post the same stuff, and he's the one that's getting deleted and whatnot, and that's not okay. That's actually fascist ideology, is to silence another person's opinion. Because everyone in this country is entitled to free speech, and there's by definition of the First Amendment, there's basically no such thing as hate speech. The only time that you're not protected by the freedom of speech is if you incite violence or try to suppress another person's opinions. If you just speak in a civil manner, or you debate online, whatnot, you just keep your views and just keep to the debate, the person that you're arguing with, they're not a bigot, they're not speaking hate speech, they're just speaking their ideas that they believe in. There's no such thing as hate speech. And when you try to silence them like that, and you try to bully them like that, that makes you the bigot. You are the fascist that you claim to be against. Fascist is another word thrown out around a lot of the times. Like, an anti-fascist, they're just repeating history, because the anti-fascists back then, they're actually very fascist and burned books. Look at the anti-fascists of today. See a parallel? Even the symbols are parallel, and they don't even realize how big of hypocrites they are. And they even show their ugly side whenever it came to Covington Catholic, and it's not going to get any better from there. The next political fiasco or scandal or controversy that is going to come about, it's going to be even more ridiculous than the Nicholas Sandmann incident from Covington Catholic. Because now, smirking or just showing some kind of expression on your face is now resultant of media slander. And that's very reminiscent of 1984, where just basically doing that was called face crime whenever it came to newspeak in Oceania. Or whatever. Yeah. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's weird. Yeah. Sorry, alarm. No, but really, it's just gotten ridiculous. And it's not going to get any better until people learn that just because someone disagrees does not warrant you to get ugly. You should always respect people. I was always taught by my brother and other members of my family that you have to respect people in order for them to respect you. And if you can't respect them, they will not help you in the future. Because you never know if the person that you don't necessarily like is going to save your life. I remember watching an episode of Grey's Anatomy where Bailey needed to operate on this guy who was formerly a white supremacist because he had a giant swastika tattoo on his belly. And the guy didn't want that, but she ended up doing surgery on him against his wishes, telling him that she saved him because that was her duty. And it really made him think a lot. So really, you can't go judging people based on beliefs, because you never know which person is going to save you and whatnot. Because if you can build up friends and you have this understanding that you got to respect others' beliefs and agree to disagree, you're going to form a lot of friendships you never knew you needed. You're going to form friendships that help you get people to back you up just in case in the case someone gets ugly against you. So that's what happens. And I think people shouldn't be so indulged in social media like this. Social media has really made us toxic. At one time, I almost succumbed to that whenever I was getting in debates with my family and I was getting a bit ugly because I kept getting called brainwashed for knowing that evolution exists. And I started showing a general dislike for them. So, but luckily I curbed away from that. Now they're good people, but we just tend to disagree. And so that's that. But I've tried to distance myself from that stuff in social media because I don't like how ugly people have gotten. It's taking away our humanity. It's turning us into barbarians, and it's wrong. Like, before you go making an opinion on something, find the facts first. Because I kind of made that mistake with the whole New York abortion bill type thing. What I found out about it, it's kind of justified, but there are some parts of it that can actually be a little bit fickle. Like, watch Steven Crowder's video on it, along with Ben Shapiro's video on it. So don't let social media turn you toxic. Don't even let your political views make you radical or too emotional, because that is bad. That makes you toxic, and that makes people not like you. That is a genuine fact in life. If you can't respect people or show general compassion towards anyone who's different, people will not like you, and they will not help you if you ever need help. So if you go to respect people, they will ultimately help you, and you will make friends. I'm not saying you don't have friends, but maybe if you have friends that push you to be toxic or are toxic, those are not good people to have in your life. So, yeah, main point. Social media turned us toxic, and we need to stop being toxic and learn to accept intellectual diversity. And unfortunately, I've gone over the time for this episode. So thanks for listening. There will be more episodes in the future. So we'll see you next time on Dash's Call.